Well, hello there. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to LifeMission Church. It is so good to be with you, for you to be with us. And I know that we've got people from all over. Some of you are watching from home, like we've heard from you. Like, hey, thanks for watching from home. And we've got, of course, our Ottawa campus. What's up, Miss Connie and crew? Hey. We've got our Kansas campus. We got Miss Alejandra. Hey. And, of course, we got Olathe, everybody there. We are all over the place, and I am so glad that we can be together. Now, I don't know about you, but we are now the weekend after Thanksgiving. Did any of you have something to eat? Remember, like the week before, we were talking about like different things you can eat and what you like and you don't like and whatever. I hope that you guys had a great time and were able to, play in the Leafs. We talked about Leafs and how they get everywhere and everything else. But anyway, I'll get to it. But what I wanted to say to you today as we get started is that it's the last week in November. It's gonna be December. Do you like Christmas music? And is it too early to play Christmas music? I really need to know, because in our house, they play Christmas music as soon as possible. Like they'd be playing around July 4th. Later on, jingle bells. And I'm like, we're wearing shorts and it's way too hot. So do you like Christmas music early, or should you play it later? All right, everybody, that's interesting what y'all think about what time, but okay. So, hey, this whole month, we've been talking about promises, and we've had our memory verse. Hopefully, you've gotten your card, and if you hadn't, you still can get one, and it is 2 Peter 1:4. Because of his glory and excellence, he has given us great and precious promises. Now, I don't know if you were with us last week or not, but we talked about something that's really hard for me to forget. And we talked about, do you walk in it or do you walk by it? And it kind of reminds me, this is my shoe, by the way. Now, okay, it smells okay. But do you see how I got stuff on there? Well, I walked into some mud and some other stuff, and see, it's on there. It shows that hold on. There. Now, when you look at it, you can see that, I didn't really walk in it. I don't have that on there. And how we use the example of how when we really walk in something like a giant mud puddle or something, it can really get all over our shoes, and maybe it's on our pants and so forth. And we carry it with us. It goes where we go. And if we really walk in it, it will leave a mark and show that other people can see that, hey, we've been in that, we've walked in that. And it's a great reminder of how we can walk in God's promises. We can choose to stand in God's promises if we were jumping in a puddle. Now remember, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not telling you to jump in puddles because I don't want mom or dad or grandma to call me. But I'm just saying, it's something for us to remember. And when you see a puddle, I know that I now think of it really differently, of walking in it or walking by it, because I've definitely walked by some and I'm like, nope, I don't want to get it all on me. But yet when we can walk in God's promises, what a difference does it make? And I'm glad that just as we were cleaning this off, is that, my shoes might be cleaned off, but when it comes to walking in God's promises, I never want to clean that off. I always want to make sure that I have that on there so that I'm carrying it with me wherever I go. I want to make sure that it's all over my pants, that it's carried on there. I want to make sure that it's on the bottom of my shoe so that it's leaving a mark, not only so that I can see it, so that others can see it as well. So when we talk about walking in it or walking around it, here's my question. Do you choose to walk in the promises of God, or do you choose to walk around them? And what are some of the promises that you have chosen to walk in? And let's be honest, I know I will be. What are some that maybe you're a little bit hesitant to walk in? What are some that you walk in or walk around? Oh, hey, this is a chair. They had it over there. Can I tell you something? I've never sat in this. So I don't really know. It can really hold me up. You ever sat in a chair and then it falls and you're like, ah. Okay, so let me give it a try. Ooh, so far so good. Hey, it holds me. See, I knew my friend Steven was right. See, here's the thing. This chair, I saw my friend Steven. He was sitting in it. So because I saw him sitting in it, I thought, well, I needed a chair to sit in that. And so I thought, if I saw him, and I know him and I trust him, that if he was able to sit in it and it was able to hold him up, that, well, maybe it can hold me up. And well, now that I'm sitting in it and I'm able to be held up, I know that I can tell Miss Suzanne and Miss Connie, and that I can tell them when they're looking for a chair that, hey, you can sit in this because I've sat in it too. Do you know that those same things are just like our verse that we've been talking about, 2 Peter 1:4, about how God's promises and about how we can see God's promises in other people's life. Just like I talked about my friend Steven, about how I saw him sit in this chair and how it held him. Well, I could see that has been in his life, just like how God's promises has been in his life and how he's leaned on that. And now that I've sat in this chair and it holds me up, I know that it is something I can trust in. And while I can tell you that God's promises, I've seen them in my life. I've seen things go on in my life that if I thought I was gonna do it on my own, if I thought I was gonna have to go through all of that on my own, but yet I was able to see and know God's promises for me personally. So just as we have seen something and known something, let me ask you, have you seen God's promises in someone that you know? Have you seen how they have responded, how it has helped them and affected them? And then for you, what about you and your family? Have you seen God's promises that you can lean on and trust for your family? What have you done when you've thought about God's promises? I better take the chair back. Okay, so we're talking about, and again, thanks to my friend Steven for the chair. And again, if you borrow something or something, you want to make sure that you bring it back. But anyway, we're talking about how you can see something in someone else's life, God's promises, and about how you can know God's promises in your life because you've seen them and they've been a part of your life. And it's interesting, I'm hearing some of your answers about how you've seen that help others and affect others, and how, well, you know that because you've seen that be a part of your life. And let me just be real with you. It's been really tough for me lately. Like, really tough. Some of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with in my life. And if I hadn't had, and I don't have God's promises, there's no way I'd be able to make it through that. And I'm telling you that as I've seen it in others, that I can stand here with you today and know, and I am so thankful for God's promises. But here's something that I want you to remember, is that if we don't stand firm and know that God's promises are real, that know that God's word is real, then when it comes to those promises, and maybe, hey, you know the memory verse, it's just something you say. But is it something that you hold and carry in your heart? Is it something that you really know? Well, here's what we have for you. Everyone, if you're at one of our campuses, is gonna receive one of these. See, this is a helpful reminder for you, and it's only 10 of the many promises that God has. And I'd like for you to take this with you. Go over it with your family. Go over it with your parents. You can pray over it. You can say, God, help me understand this more. Help me understand how your love endures forever, or how you are our source of rescue and protection, and about how you are always there to comfort us. I sure know that promise. But as we can take time to know God's promises and lean on those promises, that's something that we can know, and then we can remember it, and we can believe it. So what are you going to do when it comes to God's promises? Is it something that you're going to know, and you're going to remember, and you're going to believe?